further ado, let me introduce you guys to our speaker. So, Nurse Nancy Stark, as a nurse practitioner, she has had the privilege of caring for numerous patients grappling with chronic health conditions. However, it was her own deeply personal experience alongside her mother's journey with cancer in 2017 that profoundly shaped her path. Today, she dedicates to partnering one-on-one with clients facing similar struggles with chronic illness, and her mission is to empower them with transformative strategies, guiding them towards a life free from constraint of chronic illness and towards a realization of their fullest potential and well-being. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to our speaker tonight, Nancy Stark.
Thank you. So yes, as Alexander said, cancer has impacted my life significantly over the years. My dad was diagnosed with lung cancer when I was just 6 years old, and ultimately that took his life when I was 10, for him age 53. And then more recently, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer in 2017. And so I have to say cancer has touched me throughout my life. And it's been very impactful and really inspiring me to work with people and to empower people with the tools to have good health and wellness. And so actually my mom now is doing really well. She's cancer-free at this time. Yes. And she really knew the importance of her lifestyle choices and how those would impact her overall health and well-being. And so today I want to talk about one of those in particular, which is high quality sleep. It's so important. And over the years, we've really been aware, we've been educated on nutrition, physical exercise, but sleep seems to be really the #1 underrated health habit that now we're starting to realize that we really need to prioritize that and have really good high quality sleep. So I want to ask how many people in the room, and you can put in the chat too for our virtual people, how many people know that they have a sleep issue? They have trouble falling asleep, they wake up frequently, or they can't get back to sleep when they wake up, right? Okay, and for everyone else in the room and on virtual, if you don't have a sleep issue necessarily, who is here because they just want to learn more about good quality sleep and how to promote it for themselves? Awesome. So I really want to acknowledge that everybody is here today to learn about sleep and to really empower themselves to be well. And so that's amazing. And that's what I like to do. I like to work with people and empower people with the tools. So again, my name is Nancy and I am a nurse practitioner. I've been in the nursing field for 14 years now. And prior to that, I was a certified fitness instructor, which is why I like movement. I'll ask everyone if they're interested to stand up later on today, and we'll do a little bit of gentle exercises. And so, yeah, I'm excited to talk about sleep today and how it can really empower our overall health. So today we're going to be talking about what happens when we sleep. So looking at the architecture of sleep, why it's important to get a good night rest. We'll talk about common reasons for sleep disturbances, as well as common sleep disorders that might be diagnosed around a cancer diagnosis. We'll talk about the negative health impacts of poor sleep, of chronic poor sleep, and then we'll move into some effective ways to promote better sleep. We'll also talk about when a sleep study may be indicated, when you should have further evaluation with your provider, and then we'll go over some common sleep-related questions that I get asked often. And then again, we'll do a little bit of chair exercise, a breathing exercise, so I welcome you if you would like to participate in that as well. And again, I think, Alexander, I think we're going to edit that later, so if people don't feel comfortable having this posted on the website, we'll edit that out, so you can feel comfortable standing up to do that. And then there'll be Q&As at the end. So if you think of any questions, jot that down, and then I'll answer any questions that you may have at the end. Okay, so first I want to talk about the architecture of sleep. There's basically 2 main categories of sleep. We have non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement. So we start, and it takes about 90 minutes to go through a full cycle of sleep, and we go through these cycles throughout the night. So the first stage is called non-REM stage 1. This is when we're awake and we're starting to drift off to sleep. The brain waves begin to slow down. And then we enter into stage 2 of non-rapid eye movement sleep. And the body temperature lowers, our heart rate begins to slow, and the brain waves slow down even more. And then we enter into stage 3, and this is the most restorative sleep for our brain and our body. The slowest waves. I really think of the waves as starting from the front of the brain. They work their way back in a very calm, peaceful, synchronized way. It's almost like a meditative state that we go through during this stage 3 restorative sleep. Very different from the chaotic waves that we have during the day when we're awake, and also during REM sleep, which is the next stage, stage 4. And REM is characterized by rapid eye movement, of course, vivid dreams, and much more brain activity. Now, stage 4 REM sleep is really crucial for emotional regulation, memory consolidation, creativity, problem solving. Now, the interesting thing is that the beginning of the evening, the beginning of your sleep, the first half, we spend a lot of time in non-REM, so very restorative for the body. While the second half of the night, we spend a lot more time in REM. And so for individuals that are only sleeping 5-6 hours, you can really cut off somewhere between 60 and 90% of your REM sleep potential just by losing 1 hour of sleep, by getting 6 hours. So it's pretty crucial that we really work on getting that full 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep a night. Okay, so how sleep optimizes our health? What are the benefits for the body and mind? So better learning and memory, emotional balance. We're better able to remain calm throughout the day and have good emotional balance. When we get good sleep, clear thinking, we're better able to make decisions, have better insight when we get good sleep. We save energy, we conserve our energy while we sleep. And so hopefully that means we wake up feeling refreshed in the morning. And stronger immunity. Our immune system is boosted when we get good sleep. And this is really important to fight off infections. Healthy weight and blood sugar. Our brain detoxifies itself at night specifically. And healthy heart, right? Our heart rate slows, our blood pressure comes down. It's very protective of the heart to get good quality sleep. And easier pain management. We're better able to manage pain when we have good quality sleep. And then lower inflammation, which is really important. We know that inflammation leads to many different chronic illnesses. And so, and going back, I think, this for me is very motivating when I think about this, because getting good quality sleep takes effort. It takes a good sleep routine. It takes effort from us. It doesn't just naturally come for many of us. And so for me, this is really motivating to do the work and what it takes to get good sleep. And I want to acknowledge too that some people, well, I know many of us are here today because we want good sleep, but we're not able to achieve it at this point, which we're going to talk about ways to start promoting good sleep. Some of us, myself included, just never realized how important sleep was. So I would stay up late in the evening trying to get more and more done during my day, not realizing the damaging effects that had. So I think that this really helps to understand that we need to get to bed early in the evening. Okay, so common reasons for sleep disturbances that may be related to a cancer diagnosis. Anxiety and stress around the cancer diagnosis itself, the treatment, side effects, prognosis can all impact our ability to get good quality sleep. Pain associated with cancer or with the treatment, surgery, chemo, radiation can all put pain. Side effects like nausea and vomiting. Fatigue, which is interesting because you would think that would help a person sleep better, but in fact, it does not. It typically makes sleep even worse. And then there's hormonal changes, particularly with some treatments, breast, prostate cancer. The treatment can sometimes impact our hormones and cause night sweats, hot flashes, which can disturb sleep. Depression, PTSD, around a cancer diagnosis can cause insomnia nightmares, night terrors, or even prolonged sleepiness through the day. And then there can be routine changes, hospital stays, or treatment schedules that disrupt our natural circadian rhythm. Medications that may be prescribed, steroids, stimulants are often prescribed, and these can make it really difficult to fall asleep. And then the inflammatory activation of cancer in the body itself can really disrupt the circadian rhythm. So you can see there's lots of different causes, and it's important to know because then sometimes it's easier once you know what may be triggering your sleep issues to really target your treatment plan or your lifestyle modifications. So these are some common diagnoses that might be diagnosed. Insomnia, probably the most common one, right? Trouble falling asleep or waking up frequently through the night or having trouble falling back asleep. Sleep apnea, the restricted breathing that happens throughout sleep. This can be more common. Sleep apnea can be more common with people that have head and neck cancer or have obesity. Restless leg syndrome is the sensation of feeling like you must move your arms or your legs or having an abnormal sensation in your limbs, where periodic limb movement disorder is the involuntary movement of your arms and legs throughout the night, disturbing your sleep. Hypersomnia, excessive sleepiness, so prolonged sleep night and then sleepiness during the day. And parasomnia is abnormal behavior during sleep, sleepwalking, night terrors. So I want to talk briefly about the negative health impacts of chronic poor sleep. And I acknowledge that this can be stressful for some to think about negative health impacts, but I think it's really important to discuss so that we know the reason we need to prioritize our sleep. And there are some illnesses that are secondary to chronic poor sleep that we need to be monitoring for. And I want to tell, something that I see in the clinic setting often. Two individuals that come in with very similar demographics, same age, and one person, let's say Mr. Jones, he has a long list of health conditions, medications that he takes, where Mr. Smith does not. And when I get to the question about sleep, I typically hear the same response or an expected response, where Mr. Jones, who has all of these health conditions, often will report very poor quality of sleep. And so, sometimes I'll hear somebody say who has good sleep, I don't know, maybe it was when, I was in the military, I got on like a really consistent sleep schedule. So go to bed at the same time every night, get up early in the morning, very consistent sleep routine. So I think this next slide is going to show why we really do want to adopt a more consistent, maybe what we call boring sleep routine, right? Go to bed early, get up at the same time every day. So here's just a few, there are probably more health issues related to poor chronic sleep. And just to highlight a couple, obesity, weight gain, type 2 diabetes with poor sleep. The reason this is that when you have chronic poor sleep, you're activating the cortisol in your body, the stress hormone, and that raises the blood sugar. And the other reason too is that when you're chronically fatigued during the day, you might be reaching for snacks and foods that give you that quick energy, processed foods, and those can lead to issues like weight gain and type 2 diabetes. And then Alzheimer's or cognitive disorders. This is kind of interesting. We just found out in the last few years that the brain actually has this system called the glymphatic system, where it detoxifies the brain. And this system is really only present working at night while we're sleeping. And we build up neurotoxins just throughout the day naturally, and the body will detoxify these while we sleep. And so another reason to get really good quality sleep, because we know when these build up chronically over time, it can increase our risk for cognitive disorders. Okay, so what we can do to improve our sleep, what we're all here for. So the first thing that I want to talk about is exercise and nutrition. So let's start with physical activity. So exercise, physical activity, it doesn't have to be exercise in the gym per se, right? Any movement that you do is good for your body. A walk, playing with your kids or your grandchildren, anything that moves the body, we consider that physical activity, and it doesn't have to be a 1 hour, 2 hour during the day. It can be broken up into small periods throughout the day. And the number one thing is that we want to be consistent. So we want to move our bodies every day. If you're working at a desk and you sit for prolonged periods, then we've really got to schedule in time to get up, move around, stretch our body, do some breathing exercises. Now, if we can aim for exercise early in the day, that really sets our sleep-wake schedule and our cycle, our circadian rhythm. And then if you can pair that with some morning sunshine, you get that light into the eyes, we know that this really activates the sleep-wake cycle. And so going for a morning walk would be a great way to do this. And if you can't get out right now, even just sitting by a window, opening that window up, getting the light into the eyes, helps to get this circadian rhythm set. And you definitely want to avoid though exercising late in the evening. Anything 2 to 3 hours before bedtime can really rev up the system and make it more difficult to sleep. And you can modify your exercise for treatment periods or recovery periods. You can do simple exercises, and that's what we're going to do a couple of those today. Walking, stretching, Tai Chi and Qigong are really amazing ways to physically move the body that's gentle on the body. It helps with the lymphatic system. So I do want to try a couple exercises with everyone today if everyone is up for that. Sure. So I'm going to try my best at the tech thing here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then see if I can do this. You got it. Did I do it? You did it. Okay, perfect. And so if I come around here now, you'll be able to see me. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first exercise that we're going to do is simply just standing up out of your chair. So if you stand up, you might want to move your chair back a little bit. We're going to do a sit and stand. So you're basically just going to sit into your chair, and you can use your table if you need to help up, and you only have to do a couple reps. Now, this is something that you can do if you've been seated for a long period of time at work or at home. After mealtime is a great time to do this. So go ahead and you can just sit down into your chair. We're going to activate our big muscle groups, and we're going to stand up. And you're just going to come back down and stand up. Very simple. I mean, you could do 2 reps or you could do 10 reps. So it's really up to you. So we're just engaging these big muscle groups here. Good. And you can even add a reach here, just kind of give a good stretch and have a seat. Let's do 2 more and reach up. Good. Perfect. Awesome. All right. And so now if we can stand up and come around your chair, I'm going to show you another exercise that you could do with your chair. And this is good. This is a stretch. If you've been seated for a long period of time, hold on to your chair so that you have something to balance with. But you're going to be stretching your hip flexors for people at home. So this muscle here, you're going to hold on to your chair and you're just going to put one leg back. So hopefully you have some room there to do that. And you're just keeping your hips forward and you're just stretching out this front part of your leg. This becomes very shortened when we're sitting for long periods of time. So while we're holding the stretch, I'm just going to give everyone a fun fact. So dolphins, I want to just share that dolphins, even though they swim, they have to sleep too. But the funny thing about their sleep is that they have to sleep with 1/2 of their brain at a time. And this is because they have to surface for air constantly. So can you imagine trying to get good rest and you've got 1/2 of your brain awake while you're trying to rest? So anyhow, go ahead and switch sides to the other side. We're going to stretch out the other hip flexor here. Okay. And similarly, birds, if you've ever noticed birds that are sleeping on the electrical wire, the birds on the outside, they have to keep one eye open and 1/2 of their brain awake. So interesting because they're guarding the flock. And so again, just kind of an interesting, sleep is so important that everyone has to sleep, but in some situations, you've got these animals that have to sleep with only 1/2 of their brain. So anyhow, fun facts. So go ahead and stand back up. You can have a seat again. And the next exercise, this last exercise. So the next one we're going to do basically calf raises while you're seated. So for everyone at home, you're just going up onto your toes, but you're seated. So stay seated, lift up, your heels come up and down. And you basically are just lifting and you're activating your calf muscles. These are called soleus push-ups. Your soleus muscle is part of your calf region. And this is a really good way to get more physical activity during the day while you're seated. And so the more activity we do throughout the day, the more that we align with our sleep-wake cycle. And the more that we develop more sleep pressure. So there's something actually called sleep pressure that builds up. It starts building right when we wake up, and it builds up throughout the day. And the more physically active we are, the more sleep pressure we have, the sleepier we feel when we go to bed at night. So this is an easy way, and actually a study was done recently that people who perform this calf raise, these calf raise throughout the day, have much better blood sugar control. Again, it's physical activity that you're doing throughout the day. So even though it seems very simple and easy, it's pretty effective. So something you can do throughout the day, you can remind yourself. Okay, all right. So now, thank you. And go back here. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And then next, dietary considerations that promote sleep. We want to avoid really heavy meals right before bed. It can take a lot of energy to digest very heavy foods and make sleep very difficult. And for many people, it can cause acid reflux. So avoiding really heavy meals is a good thing. Caffeine, we don't want to drink caffeine, obviously. There are probably about 50% of the population are slow metabolizers of caffeine, which means that the caffeine can remain in their system for up to 12 hours after drinking it. So definitely avoiding caffeine in the afternoon if you want to get to bed early. And then here are some melatonin-rich and tryptophan-rich foods. So these could be good afternoon or evening snacks to help give some melatonin, tryptophan in the body, and that helps lead to sleepiness in the evening. The teas would be a good thing too in the evening, like barley tea, some tart cherry juice. And then avoiding nicotine, which is actually a stimulant, so that can impair sleep. And then alcohol. We now know that alcohol can reduce the ability to get into REM essentially all the way. So people who drink a nightcap right before bed may not be achieving really any REM sleep. So we want to avoid that. All right, and so sleep hygiene #1 tip. So this, I would say, if you take only one thing away from what I talk about today, it's going to be maintaining a consistent bedtime and wake time every day, including the weekend. And this is really important because it helps our brains to know when to prepare for sleep. So, you can't always really determine when you're going to fall asleep. Sometimes sleep is difficult and we might not be able to fall asleep at the exact same time, but we can start preparing for sleep at the same time every day, and we can get up at the same time every day. And again, that'll start triggering the melatonin release at the consistent times in the evening. Now, interesting note, not everybody is a morning lark. There are some people who are true night owls. How many people, raise your hand or put in the chat, consider themselves a morning lark? They like to be up early, okay? And then what about night owls? Who likes to stay up late, okay? And what's kind of interesting is that they did a study not too long ago where they took people who perceived themselves to be night owls, and they took them out and they had them camp. So no phones, no electronics, stimulating activities, and they had them over a couple weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, camp outside. And what they found was people who even perceived themselves to be typically night owls, by the end of that camping trip, they were going to bed 2 hours earlier than they typically do and getting up 2 hours early in the morning than they typically do. So I think for some people, we may not necessarily be programmed to be night owls. It might be modern society keeping us up. Lots of bright lights in the evening. We're still working. We're still very stimulated. But the research does show that about 40% of individuals are morning larks, and about 30% of people are night owls, and then another 30% are somewhere in between that. And we think that this is because early on, there was more protection if you had people up at different times. So if you had some people up late at night, other people up early in the morning, then there was just a short period of time at night where everybody was asleep. So this gave more protection for the group. So kind of interesting. Now, if you are a night owl, and you like to go to bed at midnight, that's okay, as long as you can get that 8 hours of sleep. So, unfortunately, society doesn't always cater to the night owl, right? And they, work still expects you to be there bright and early. So if that's the case, then it's really imperative that you start sort of getting the sleep schedule a little earlier. We could start like 15 minutes earlier for a week, and then the next week you start your bedtime routine 15 minutes earlier. You kind of keep working your way back until you find something in between that works for you, that allows you to get 8 hours. Okay. So sleep hygiene, creating a sleep promoting environment. So first of all, we want to make sure that the bedroom is used primarily for sleep and relaxing activities. So if you have trouble sleeping, then it's a good idea to keep the TV out of your room. Exercise. Some people keep an exercise machine in their room, or an office desk and do work. So those might be good to move into another room if you have trouble sleeping. Definitely don't take your laptop into your bed and do work in your bed. And then you want the room to be dark. So blackout curtains are really helpful. They also have, on Amazon, I've picked up some of these. They're little stickers, they're blackout stickers that you can put on device lights that are in your room. And that makes it really dark. So you have little kind of naggy lights. You want your room to be cool. So 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit seems to be the sweet spot. And you can keep it cool too with your sleepwear, nice, light, breathable materials, breathable linen. And then you want your room to be quiet. So if you have a lot of noise that's disturbing you, using ambient noise like a white noise machine, a fan to block that noise. Some people use earplugs. You just want to be mindful of earplugs. They can cause impaction over time if you use them really persistently, or ear infections. But they also have these really cool headphones. So they're soft and they wear like a headband, and they have flat earbuds so that you can listen to music or meditations without disturbing anyone else in the room. And then you want to keep your room sort of decluttered, not a lot of things in your room. That really creates a serene environment, calm space to go to sleep. And then you want comfortable bedding. Mattress, pillow should be comfortable. So if it's been a while and it feels like, you wake up and you've got a stiff neck, it might be time to upgrade those, the bedding. You want those cool, breathable materials to sleep in, and you really want to be washing your linens once a week if possible. And that way you're not breathing in debris, dust throughout the night. You can also use an air filter that you can turn on about an hour before you go to bed at night, and that can clean the air. You can run it through the night too. Sometimes it acts as a white noise machine as well. And then your phone. You want to keep your phone away from your bed, 5 feet or more. And then if you can turn it to airplane mode, even better, because sometimes it lights up or it dings, and that can disturb your sleep as well. Okay. All right, so I want to go through just a quick sample routine of what a nighttime routine, because really we want to start preparing like an hour beforehand. You want to be starting to dim the lights. So first thing is to have that bedtime. So that for, some people might be 9:30, for others it could be 11, but sort of have the consistent time that you're going to have every day where you're going to be turning the lights off, and then you want to prep about an hour before that. So try to avoid bright lights or screen time an hour before you go to sleep. So let's say around 8 p.m. you dim the lights, so you don't want these bright fluorescent overhead lights. You want lamps with warm, soft tones. And then you can also, and so dimming the lights reduces that blue light. So blue light comes in during the day from outside the sun, from the sky. So we want to reduce the blue light that comes from our computers and our screens as well. This really reduces melatonin production significantly. There was one study that was done with children that just one bright light shown to them, just one light, decreased their melatonin production by 90%. So it's really huge. The lights are really huge. So 1 hour before bed, we want to get off of those screens. Some of the phones let you dim it to, you can set a timer on it to switch off of blue lights, and it's more warm tones, and so you can utilize that as well. Taking a warm bath or shower before you go to bed is helpful because it actually cools the body when you get out. So it warms the body, and then when you get out, it cools, drops the body temperature, and that helps you to feel drowsy. Herbal tea would be a good thing to do in the evening, chamomile, or you could go back to that list. The tart cherry juice or barley tea would be a good option. And then let's say it's around 9 o'clock. Now we're doing some relaxing activities. So reading a book, again, not on your phone, a physical book, a non-stimulating story. So it's not getting you all riled up. You could listen to calm music, do some stretching or yoga, doing a to-do list. That helps for a lot of people sort of get out of their mind and onto paper what they need to do the following day. And that way you're not up lying in bed thinking about all those things and wanting to grab your phone and jot it down. So that can be good. If you don't have to do a to-do list, then maybe doing some journaling, if that feels good. Performing a gratitude practice can be really helpful in the evening, and it doesn't have to be writing. You could just sort of close your eyes and sort of go through your day and think about, you know, the good things that occurred. Can be very calming and relaxing. And then 9:30, let's say you turn off your electronics, you set your alarm. And for people who don't wake up on their own and need an alarm, sometimes picking up one of those sunrise alarms, that can be helpful too. So it gradually wakes you up in the morning with a dim light that gets brighter and brighter, and that can be really helpful. So turn your alarm on, turn your phone to airplane mode, and then you want to turn the lights off, close your eyes, and do a relaxation technique right away. And so we'll go through some different relaxation techniques that you can try. All of the ones that I have listed here can be found online. You can find them on YouTube, guided sessions, or there are apps such as Calm. If anyone's tried Calm, I like that one a lot. And some insurance companies even cover the cost of those apps. So if you're unsure, that might be something to check with your insurance company to see. I know Kaiser covers the cost of Calm. So the first one is progressive muscle relaxation. And this is good for people who have body tension. The way that you do this, you lay down, close your eyes, you start with your toes and you tighten the muscle up for about 5 seconds and then you release it. And you work your way up from your toes, each area through the body to your head, your face and your head last. And this is really good to release tension if you're someone who holds tension in the body. And then visualization or guided imagery. So visualization, again, you could do this independently on your own. You just, think of a relaxing place that you would like to be, and you really, you are there. You feel what it would feel like to be there, how the wind or air feels on your skin, the smells you would smell. And this is good for people who worry or have a lot of distracting thoughts as they're trying to sleep, because it distracts you away from those back to this calming image. And then there's the mindful body scan, which is just a scan that you do through your body. So you can start at your head and you can just feel the different sensations that you might feel as you work your way through your body. And again, this is good for people who have distracting thoughts to kind of bring you back to the present, and also to relax tension. So if you feel something that feels uncomfortable, you can take some deep breaths and sort of breathe into it and relax those areas. And then the last are breathing techniques. So if you don't want to do any of those others, maybe they feel more complicated, you can simply just take slow, deep breaths. And so one breathing technique that I like is the 4-7-8, which is just breathing in for 4 seconds gently through your nose, and then you hold the breath for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8 seconds, either through the mouth or the nose is fine. So I welcome you all to try. We'll just do one round of a breath right now, just get some good air. So I'm going to count it out for you. So you're welcome to do the breath. So we're going to go in for 4. So I'm going to count. So breathe in gently through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So really long breath out. So that's a really relaxing breath. And by doing deep breathing, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and that relaxes the body. So this would be good to do at bedtime, right before you go to sleep. And you could do 3 or 4 rounds of it at that time. And you could do that anytime throughout the day if you feel stress coming on. So now I want to talk about some other items that we can utilize that are outside of what we would do on our own at home. So the first is called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. This is working with a therapist who is certified in this area for insomnia. And this is found to be very effective, even long after the treatment is over, improving insomnia symptoms. 50 to 75% reduction in symptoms of chronic insomnia. It's found to be as effective in the short term as sleep aids or medication, and much more effective in the long term than sleep aids. You can find these online. You don't even necessarily have to have a provider. There's online apps and programs that you can join, and they will guide you through one of these programs. And there's a positive impact on other comorbid conditions as well, because when we improve our sleep, we improve other issues as well, such as mood disorders, chronic pain disorders. And so if you're interested in something like this, you can ask your primary care provider for a referral to a sleep specialist. Sleep centers locally usually have practitioners on staff, and they can refer out as well. And then on the handout, I put a website that you can go to, and you can find practitioners locally in your area. And then there's other sleep support groups available as well. And I put some websites on the handout as well. Peer-led groups are really great because they're people who are going through similar things. And so they, people can talk about what's been effective and what hasn't been. You get some really good ideas that way. And you can find these groups online. Local community centers might have them, online forums. And then there's other, so online insomnia programs I just mentioned, and then support groups for other sleep-specific disorders. So restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea. You can get very specific with these peer groups. And again, I have some websites on hand there. Okay. And then stress management techniques. I think, stress is so prevalent in our modern day society that sometimes people don't even realize that they have a lot of stress built up. And so, doing some stress management technique can be really effective at improving your sleep. So journaling, a gratitude practice, can be really effective. Research published in Brain Behavior and Immunity here, it says patients who maintained a gratitude practice showed a 20% improvement in immune function markers, such as higher levels of natural killer cells, playing a critical role in fighting cancer cells. It's really powerful. When you decrease stress, and gratitude practice is one way that you can do that. And I know it can sound like a challenging time for some to start such a practice, but we know it's a skill, it's a muscle, gratitude practice. And so the more we do it, the easier it becomes. And we start noticing little things that we can be grateful for. Really small things like having a cup of tea, going out for a walk and feeling the sunshine on your body. These are small things, but really powerful to help us de-stress our bodies. And then engaging in hobbies. This can be physically active, which is great, gets us moving, but it can be anything really that brings us joy. So gardening, hiking, playing with our pets, volunteering, cooking, baking, you name it. If you enjoy it, then I think it's a good thing to schedule it, to do it regularly, to bring joy, relaxation, de-stress. And then laughing and smiling. There's actually laughter groups that you can become a part of, which is fascinating. And the Journal of Clinical Oncology, there was a study that was found that laughter lowered cortisol levels by 25% when it was practiced regularly. And so, if there's not a laugh group around that you want to sign up for, you can watch a comedy on TV. You can do, so you can do simple things, smiling and laughing. It brings joy into our body, and it's de-stressing. Spending time with our loved ones and our friends. And if we can really avoid negative input as much as possible. So those news topics that we really have no control over, we can avoid those. And people who are really not supportive of us, if possible, right? Not always possible, but if possible, to really, spend time with your loved ones and friends who support you and make you feel good. Okay, and complementary and alternative therapies. And again, going back to the stress, stress, if we can improve all of that, it improves our sleep, right? Because if we're stressed, we don't have good sleep. So I think, just kind of connecting that back to sleep. So complementary and alternative therapies for sleep in particular. So acupuncture, there's a lot of studies about acupuncture. So if you have sleep issues and you haven't tried that, that might be an option to try. And the effectiveness long after the treatment is over continues. And then aromatherapy. So this is the use of essential oils from plants. And you can utilize very specific essential oils like lavender, sandalwood, chamomile that really promote a more sedative sensation. And you could put that in a diffuser. You can put a few drops of it into a water bottle with some water and spritz it in your room before you go to bed. You can even apply to skin or bath, but just be mindful that you can get skin irritations with some. So carrier oils, or if you're concerned, you could again just diffuse it into the air. And then forest bathing. I don't know how many people have tried forest bathing, but there are studies out there that indicate that this is really powerful for de-stressing. And what it is just being out in nature. So you don't have to be in the forest to be forest bathing. You could be at your park, you could be in your backyard in your garden, you could be at the beach, anywhere in nature where you're connecting all of your senses with the outdoors. Yeah, or even in your house, you have plants in your house and you're around the plants. So there's lots of ways that you can do it. And we know that forest bathing increases those natural killer cells, it decreases cortisol levels, it helps align your body with the circadian rhythm. And so this helps our sleep significantly. And grounding is a way of connecting with the earth by direct contact. So you go outside and you walk barefoot. You walk in the soil, in the grass, in the sand, on the beach, anywhere that connects your body with nature really sets a strong circadian rhythm for your body and helps you to get better sleep. Okay, so these are some common questions that I get. What should I do if I wake up in the middle of the night? And first thing, I think a lot of people grab their phone and start scrolling, but you don't want to do that. So the first thing is to try one of those relaxation techniques that I mentioned earlier. So have one of those sort of in your mind that that's what you're going to try if you wake up or you're having trouble falling asleep. And then if after 15 to 20 minutes you have not been able to fall back asleep, you feel wide awake, it's really better to get up out of bed at that point. You don't want to associate your bed with wakefulness. So have a night light that you have primed and ready to go that you can turn on so that you don't shine a bright light in your eye, and also you don't want to trip, but you want to leave the room and go to another room. Continue to avoid bright light. So if you want to do engage in a quiet, relaxing activity, you can read a physical book, do some more stretching, do some deep breathing, anything that sort of helps you to relax your body. And definitely avoid watching the clock. This really creates anxiety around not sleeping. So, if you can turn the clock around or avoid looking at that, that's really important when we're trying to strengthen that sleep. Return to the bed once you feel drowsy. So as soon as you start to feel drowsy, once again, go ahead and go back to bed because you want to strengthen that connection. Drowsy, sleepy, bed. So we want to connect that. And then after 15 to 20 minutes, if you're still awake, you start with number one and you do it again. And again, you would leave the room and come back as needed. And over time, you're going to develop a stronger connection with your bed and sleep. And this will happen less and less after, over time. So what about naps? Are they beneficial? There's actually a lot of literature that says that they are really beneficial with some parameters in place. There's many countries that have had a culture, a siesta culture or a nap culture. Many of these have sort of gone away, and I want to talk about Greece in particular because they phased out this culture, this siesta culture in the 1990s, and scientists took that opportunity to go in and see what the health impacts were of that. And it was significant. And so with the siesta culture, around 1 o'clock when the natural circadian rhythm sort of dips, your cortisol levels dip, people tend to feel sleepy, right? That's the Starbucks long line period, like 1 to 3 p.m. Everyone needs to go get a coffee. But that's a natural way for our body to rest. And so we think that maybe Historically, we were like biphasic sleepers where we slept a long period at night and then during the day we had a period of rest. So it doesn't necessarily have to be sleep, but a time that you just rest your body. And so for many of these countries, people would close shop, go home and rest for a few hours and then open back up at 5 p.m. or so. And what they found in Greece when they took this away, they found that cardiovascular events went up significantly, especially among working men. Heart attacks, strokes, heart disease rose quite a bit. Because we think that the rest period doesn't have to be sleep, but just resting the body, it lowers the blood pressure, the heart rate, and it's very protective of the heart. And then we see other improvements too, support improved mood, improved cognition. In fact, if you do like a good learning session, you're studying and you take a nap after, you can retain that information much better. Improved immune function. So it looks very similar to good nighttime sleep, naps. So the thing that we need to consider is that it can lead to grogginess if it's done too long. So 10 to 30 minutes is really what you want to, set a little timer or an alarm. You don't want to sleep longer than that. It can disrupt your nighttime sleep too if it's too long. And you want to do it around those hours. 1 to 3 is a great time period because that's a natural dip in our circadian anyhow. Okay, and it doesn't have to be every day that you take a nap. There was one study that was interesting. It showed really good heart protection with 1 to 2 naps a week. And actually at 6 to 7 naps a week, you couldn't see that protection anymore. So it doesn't have to be every day and it doesn't have to be sound asleep. It could just be resting your body. And then what about sleep aids or sleep medications? So the first one I want to talk about is melatonin, which is a supplement over the counter. And melatonin is a hormone that we secrete from our pineal gland that tells your body and your brain that it's time to start getting ready for sleep. It doesn't help you to sleep deeper or longer or anything like that. And so it really hasn't been found super effective for people that have insomnia or typical sleep disturbances. What it does seem to be good for is people who have circadian rhythm disruption, like jet lag. So if you've traveled across many time zones and you're, in the new country, you're 10 p.m. at night, but your body thinks it's 10 a.m. in the morning, you're not going to be secreting that melatonin like you typically would be. And so taking a supplement may be helpful in that case in order to help you get to sleep that night and also to get back onto the new time zone a little faster. Also, as we age, we can have some decreased diminishing melatonin levels. And so perhaps it could be something helpful too. So something to talk to your doctor about if that's something that you're interested in. And then everything that we've talked about today that we would do on our own, that is all very supportive of increasing our melatonin production naturally. And then over-the-counter sleep aids like Unisum, Tylenol PM, Advil PM, Benadryl, all of these can have potential side effects. The Tylenol and Advil, those can be really hard on the liver, the kidney, the stomach lining. If you take it chronically every day, there can be a lot of health impacts that way. Benadryl is very drying to the mucous membranes, to your eyes, your mouth. All of these can have daytime drowsiness associated with them. And really, it can be somewhat of a Band-Aid approach, right? If we're not really figuring out what our root cause of our sleep disturbance is. And then benzodiazepines, non-benzodiazepines, these are medications like Ativan, Xanax, Ambien, Lunesta. These are powerful medications that are only prescribed by a doctor, and they can have some significant health concerns associated with them. A person can develop tolerance to the medication, and so you might not be able to achieve that same effectiveness, and you have to keep increasing the dose. It can be very hard to come off of the medication. Sometimes the rebound insomnia is even worse than before you started the medication. There can be interactions with other medications that can depress your respiratory drive, which can be very dangerous in terms of leading to overdose. Daytime symptoms, frogginess, drowsiness, memory issues, cognition, increased risk for falls, accidents. So again, very powerful medication, something to definitely discuss with your doctor if that's something that you were thinking about. Okay, and then these are some questions that, and these are on your notes, so you can look at these later after today. But if you are wondering, do I have a true sleep issue? If you're answering yes to many of these questions, then there probably is something going on, and I would recommend talking to your primary care doctor about getting a referral to a sleep specialist to discuss that more. Now, the sleep devices, those sleep tracking devices that are out there, Those can be interesting, to give you some raw data, to kind of tweak your sleep schedule. But really, they're not, necessarily super accurate. They're definitely not FDA approved for, diagnosing a sleep disorder. And for some people, they can cause a lot of anxiety as you use them, kind of worrying about what does this mean. And so I don't really recommend those, too much. If you have concerns about sleep apnea, you snore, someone's told you that you snore, or you're concerned about that, it's really important that you get a referral to a sleep specialist, or your primary care doctor can order a sleep study as well. And there's other treatments available now. It's not just CPAP machines. There's other treatment that are available, and it's really imperative that you treat sleep apnea because of the impact it has on the heart and the overall health of the body. So really significant. All right, so I'm hoping that everybody takes away from this talk that sleep really just is not just a time of rest only, but really a powerful tool to rejuvenate our bodies. So when you really spend the effort and really create a good sleep routine to get good sleep, you're supporting your immune system, you're protecting your heart, you're helping to maintain a healthy weight, detoxifying the brain and the body. And so I think, I hope that after today, we start realizing that we need to make an effort to do this. And the things that we can do, right? Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, weekends included. Getting your morning sunshine, getting outside each day, moving your body physically in some way. And then starting to implement those sleep routines and the sleep promoting environment. And just one item at a time. I included a lot of them on your handout, and really just do one thing at a time. If we try to do everything at once, it won't stick. We'll feel overwhelmed, and they won't become habits. So if we do one thing at a time, we make it a habit, and then we can move on to the next thing. The other thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention this earlier, the Scandinavian sleep method. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this, but if you have a partner in the bed that and you wake up frequently, sometimes the moving of the blankets can be very disturbing. And so the Scandinavian technique is that you forego your top sheet and you each have your own blanket. So you have your own space, so you're not pulling that tug. So that can also be a helpful technique to try as well. So I hope for everyone that tonight is the first step towards unlocking your sleep potential. And I want everyone to know that when you go to sleep tonight, you will sleep with both sides of your brain, unlike our friend the dolphin. So I hope everyone has enjoyed the talk, and I would love to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nancy. So we are going to open up the floor for some Q&A. I'm going to stop the recording right now.